Greetings, fellow adventurers. Axe here, welcoming you to our second night of virtual Dungeons & Dragons. In our previous night, our ragtag team came together under threat of what appears to be orc aggression in the general region surrounding the small river city of Phantos. Tonight we have some changes to the roster, as Julia's character will be departing to make way for a brawny dwarf with little love for greenskins. Now the gang sits down and we prepare to make our way into the wilds to investigate and confront this rising threat.
Okay. So when we last left everybody...
You have to do it as the Dragon Ball Z announcer.
No. When we last left everybody...
Previously on Dragon Ball Z.
Chewie and Axe and Sushi and Hagii were all bunking in the inn, one of two inns, I believe. One inn, two taverns. This is the Leaky Barrel, in case anyone wants to make note of these names.
Some of us more willing than others.
And I think at the last discussion we had, basically there was definitive proof, by way of a bandit raid in the middle of the woods, that there are orcs on the prowl. So, night has passed, and dawn breaks. Quick, make a crash noise. And everyone is roasting themselves at their own pace for breakfast. 4 hours of breakfast. Just kidding.
Yeah, we'll be eating breakfast until about midnight.
Yeah, so whenever you guys are ready, make your way down to the common area. Good. Great.
I'm
Glad
ready.
We're all ready.
I'm sleeping.
Yeah, shut up, we're sleeping.
Yeah, I'm RPing my sleep. Fat. Fat. Okay. So, I would say everybody is now gathered in the common room, enjoying some breakfast. Sushi's trying to bum free food off of somebody. And a crowd has started to gather. Most of them have been here before you guys. The sheriff is here. The magistrate is here. A few of the more notable businessmen, or at least so you can gather based on their attire. Several, about a dozen dock workers or so, associated families, that kind of stuff. It's quite the crowd. Anyway, so everyone's milling about, waiting for something to start. They're not quite sure what. And the sheriff stands up. And he harumps a few times and kind of calms the crowd. Everyone's eyes are on him. And he starts to address people about what needs to be done today. And he basically says, okay, based on what we learned last night, we've got orcs in the area. We don't know how bad it is, how many there are, or where they're at, or what their motives are. But we need to start being proactive about this. We've taken whatever defensive measures we can, but we're going to need able-bodied men to form essentially a posse to be ready to move and deal with the problem. And all the townsfolk are like looking around at each other nervously. A couple of the dock workers look like they may be interested in some action, but most people are generally not of the "yeah, let's go get them, boys" type. They want something done. They just don't want to have to do it themselves. So the sheriff's looking around, and he's giving a few glances to the magistrate, who, you know, as an ineffectual bureaucrat in a backwater town, doesn't know what he's doing either. And so there's a lot of shrugging going on back and forth. And then suddenly there's a commotion outside. Sound of a horse riding up, coming in hard. And coming through the door, rushing through the door actually, is a gaunt human soldier in, you know, rough gear. He's dirty, he's sweat covered. It looks like he's been riding for a long time. And he rushes the room and right up to the sheriff and whispers in the sheriff's ear. And the sheriff turns a little bit pale, and he goes over quickly to the magistrate, while the guard, meanwhile, has gone to the barkeep to get some water or something. Probably something a little stiffer than that. So there's a quick conference between the magistrate and the sheriff. They call the guard over. The three of them are whispering other harsh tones. There's a lot of animated arm waving and stuff, and then a bunch of shh. So magistrate pushes the sheriff back out into the limelight kind of thing, and the sheriff says, "Okay, we have some further information. One of our scouts has returned, investigating the rumors of outlying farms being attacked. And it turns out that the Andersons' farm has been burned to the ground, and there's no sign of any of the people that live there." This causes quite a commotion in the crowd. There's a lot of gas and murmuring and harumphing and a whole bunch of other things. Shortly, about a minute after this happens, there is another big commotion outside. And the crowd parts, and people are looking, straining, craning their necks to see whether they expect to be another guard coming through, the second scout that was sent out. But they don't. But there's a definite hole in the crowd, and they wait, and you look, and you guys can suddenly see, if you look down a bit, there is a stumpy-looking man, a dwarf, walking his way through the crowd, grumpy expression on his face. Over his shoulder is the corpse of what can only be a scout, and in his left hand is a sack, and he walks up to where the sheriff is, and he, without saying a word, he heaves the corpse off of his shoulder and onto the nearest table, causes a big thunk, and people scatter away from it. He says, "I found this boy. He's dead." And then he, with his left hand, swings a bag onto the table. And as the bag thumps onto the table, it opens a bit, and out rolls an orc head. And there's an even bigger gasp and more screams. And he says, "And so are these boys." So now you've got a dwarf in the middle of the bar and a huge commotion, and you've got a dead guard, and you get a bunch of orc heads in a bag, and all shit is just breaking loose. The sheriff is losing control very quickly, but he's trying to calm the crowd. The magistrate manages, out of all this, to suddenly shout out, "Who are you?" And he, without hardly turning, he looks over his side. He says, "The name's Doorkicker, Boot Doorkicker. I was sent from the mines to see what's wrong with your bloody shipments. It looks like you people have let everything all gone to shit." And he basically briefly explains after that he came upon the second burnt out farm. He didn't know there was more than one, but he said he came across a farm that was all burnt out. The inhabitants had been murdered, and the scout was in combat with 4 orcs when he got there. Unfortunately, he was too late to save the scout, but he certainly took his revenge on the orcs, and he's come to collect the bounty on their heads. Hence the bag full of heads. The sheriff is become more and more concerned by the second, and he realizes this is all way above his pay grade. And he just kind of scratches at his head and calls over Hagii. "Hagii. Paladin. You're up. Sushi. Your bag of heads." Hagii's drunk or dead.
One of the two.
Or both.
He's there.
These various rich people in the room.
Yeah.
You want to describe them for
Where
me?
this is going.
Well, I wouldn't say overly affluent. This is, again, it's still a backwater town, but I would just say, like, you know, in this town, merchants would be the closest thing you have to rich people, because they deal in cash. But it's, whatever.
Are they essentially like a step above poverty-stricken type merchants, or?
I mean, yeah, maybe a little better than that. Like, they'll be able to afford the nice firewood come winter, and they'll never go hungry. But they're not dripping, and nobody's wearing bling. I mean, it's 8 o'clock in the morning on the eve of a troll attack. Nobody brought out their fancy attire today.
Just making sure. Okay. You know, I got curiosity. It's just curiosity.
Okay, so Hagii, I don't know what point you got called out.
It was a while ago. But
Okay, so
go on.
basically, short version, ton of commotion this morning. Scouts have returned. Both
Right.
farms have been burned to the ground. The problem is only one scout came back alive. The other one was brought back as a corpse over the shoulder of a burly-looking dwarf who it doesn't look like he's too happy to be here, but he's got a message to deliver regarding why he was here and a bag full of orc heads that he wants bounty on.
Oh, well, that's helpful.
So the sheriff, who, again, is trying to keep everyone from going into a complete panic and shouting, "This is the end times," has called you over.
This is a fucking sheriff.
Well, this
No,
is
he's
above
trying to
his pay
stop
grade.
them
He's
from-
just like, he deals with like
The
local
end
criminals, the odd, angry wolf in the winter when a river freezes. I mean, like, just. Anyway, he's called you over, Hagii.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, he leans in and is okay, that, this is the situation. And we need to get a group of people to go hunt these bastards down. This many orcs are going to probably leave it. They're not subtle. They'll probably leave a dozen trails right back to their hideout, wherever they are. But none of these people are going to lift a finger. They're all going to protect their homes and families.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do?
I volunteer as tribute.
Thank you! Someone had to say it!
Okay, so the sheriff, bolstered by this statement, stands back up to his full height and booms out to the room, says, this noble and heroic paladin has volunteered to lead an expedition and bravely, rid us of this orc menace. Who will join him?
I offer my expertise.
Ooh.
Wait,
Everyone-
Connor's not being a giant pussy this game?
Everyone looks over, and he's like, ooh, you can hear them whispering on the shop, ooh, Allistair Quinn, it's Allistair Quinn. And the sheriff nods approvingly in your direction, Sushi, and says, yes, the much-famed Allistair Quinn, adventurer extraordinaire, will join our brave young paladin here on this quest. Should there be anyone else, keeping in mind that there is a hefty bounty for every orc slain.
How hefty is this bounty?
Well, I mean, they're like a medium wealth town, so probably like
A cow.
20 gold a head, we'll say.
Get paid for the job I already gotta do. I'll step up.
All right, the shadowy businessman from
Who we don't
far
know.
away. Apparently,
The weirdy.
They don't need to
Apparently
know
will.
anything about me. I'm just going.
okay, the gentleman from Alabama. Go. You're
This
in.
got weird.
The faraway land of Alabama.
That's right. Who's left? Chewie, you're there.
It's assumed I'm going.
Okay.
You're
Okay,
kind
that's
of
great too, 'cause you don't
pigeonholed
even
into
have to
going
really
at this
say it.
point.
You just kind of like you just go along. You don't volunteer.
I'm defending my forest.
It's true. You notice from the landing, going to the second floor, a young woman, and Chewie, you recognize her as the one you rescued from the caravan. Would you like to say anything to her, or she's just standing there, like staring, like vacantly at the bag of orc heads?
As if someone is not controlling her mind anymore.
No, not that kind of thing. Just, like she's transfixed on them, but not. Most people would be disturbed by a bag of severed heads. She does not seem to care.
I mean, she killed like, what, 4 of them?
It's true. Anyway, if you don't have anything to say to her, that's fine. But she's standing
Fuck you
there
for
anyway.
leaving me!
I don't know.
Because, well, you still have 2 people at your place in your care. So
She
to
knows
speak.
where they are.
Okay.
I guess I will tell her that if she needs to go take care of her her brethren, feel free. But I have other things to attend to.
She kind of glances your direction and says, mumbles something incoherently, and then almost like shrugging out of a stupor, she says, thank you. I've made arrangements with the sheriff that as soon as at the most earliest opportune moment, we'll be taking a small armed retinue into the woods to retrieve my followers and try to tidy up my belongings left on the road at the accident site. And then she thanks you for your assistance, and it just kind of like wanders off.
Helpful, thank you.
Yeah,
Rod.
sure. Mm-hmm.
All right, so the sheriff comes over to each of you and kind of points in turn, and says, "Follow me," and takes you off to the side. There's a small kind of alcove / small room. Doesn't have a door on it, but just somewhere where you can get away from all the gawkers and the citizenry. He's also mentioned to his remaining scout is to do something about that bag of heads on the table. It's upsetting the locals. So while that's going on, he's got the bunch of you together. He says, "Well, I'll leave you with Johan here, and you can handle your affairs amongst yourselves. Essentially, we can afford. This is a situation that needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. We can afford a few days for you to try to attend to it, and if not, we're going to have to reach out for official assistance from some of the larger population centers. So the clock is ticking, so to speak, but you've got like 2-3 days to track them down and do what's what." He says, "Don't, adventure is one thing, but don't be heroes. If you find yourselves outmatched, come back, and we will deal with it as best we can." And then he leaves to go take care of the unruly crowds.
Alright, so, can I address the group?
Yeah, I would say that's probably appropriate.
Okay. Okay, everyone. Thank you for volunteering.
I don't
have
volunteer
any
for
pamphlets-
nothing. I'm
I
getting
don't have any
paid for this.
pamphlets ready for you.
We're all gonna die.
But I will tell you this is not going to be easy, and we're going to go make us some money and murder some orcs. So first thing we need to do is find out where the orcs are currently. So, can we go talk to the dwarf and find out where he came from? We can find a specific location where he murdered all those orcs.
Sure, yeah, you go back out, and the dwarf's sitting down, and he's up to his third mug of ale.
Oh, good. My kind of guy.
He seems to not enjoy it. I don't think he finds it strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be 10. You're now in charge of said dwarf. And basically, before I let you just roam loose here, your sole motivation right now, other than protecting the interests of the Dwarven Kingdom, is
Ale. It's ale.
money and ale. And since money can be had by killing more orcs, which you have no love for, then you'll probably be interested in what Hagii has to say. Alright,
I'm listening.
Ale.
he's listening.
Okay. Dwarf, the slayer of all the orcs. Where did you come across such orcs that needed their head removed?
How many times are
Fairly.
you gonna say orc?
Orc.
And you're the one leading this gong show?
Listen, I did say we're all gonna die.
Anyway,
Sure.
this is information that I haven't necessarily provided to Ten yet, so just let me fill in some of the blanks here on his behalf. Basically, he came upriver directly from the mines of Vodor, and he's come across what he suspects at least 2 sinkings of boats, and then the farm. So he came from the far west.
Okay. I mean, where do that's helpful, but where did he come in across the orcs?
Well, the nearest well, not the nearest, but one of the outlying farms to the west along the river between here and, I don't know.
Okay, so he actually
Mile
ran
marker
into the
57.
farm. Okay.
Can you give
cool.
us the map again, by the way?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll give you
that would be
that.
helpful.